Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Lexi. I will pop my Instagram up above, but welcome to another quick sit down video on another hot topic. So last video I put up, which if you haven't watched it, go check it out. I did get a comment asking to talk about this topic, and I was like, wow, this is a great topic because literally this applies to so many people, if not probably everybody who watches this channel, whether we want to admit it or not. So the hot topic that I am going to be diving into today is body image, and furthermore, how body image is impacted by bodybuilding and ways you can improve your body image, specifically if you are a bodybuilder and you just competed. Because I feel like for a lot of, especially female competitors, I can't speak for, male competitors because I don't work with any male competitors, but I'm sure that they also probably deal with this to an extent after show. But the first couple of months post show, after you see yourself get to a stage level of leanness, and then when you start to regain body fat and come back to normalcy, it is really damn hard. And I think, it's one of those things a lot of people know it's going to be hard, but until you are in the position, it's hard. So I am going to provide some of my insight as an athlete myself, but furthermore as a coach, because this is something that I work with a lot of my clients on, is body image post show, and giving them some feedback that they can implement so that way the body image doesn't completely just ruin everything for them. So in this video, I'm going to talk about some tips I have for body image post show and just how to navigate it, and things I have done too, because I've been in this sport for years now, and honestly, bodybuilding has been one of the best things to ever happen to me. And I think sometimes it can be portrayed as a very negative sport, but it definitely doesn't have to be that way. So anyways, all right, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I really just want to preface in this video is that, if you're watching this, and I don't want this to come across as being like a tough love type of, insensitive viewpoint, but I think what you also have to understand is that if you are getting into the sport of bodybuilding, it is a very body focused aesthetic sport. So you just have to know that getting into it. That is why the sport is not for everybody, and that is okay. But I think before even getting into this sport, realize that you have to have that accountability within your own self, and realize that this is a very body-centric sport. And I mean, it can teach you a lot of beautiful things, but if you don't think that you can handle the aesthetic side of things and it being very body focused, maybe it's not the sport for you, and that is absolutely okay, right? So the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to body image is, we always hear this term, right? Body image. And when you really kind of break apart the term, it basically means how you view your body. And so something that I always tell my clients, and something that has been very helpful for me to remind my own self of, is your bad body image days have much less to do with how you actually look, and a whole hell of a lot more to do with just your perception on that given day, right? And our perception can be driven by so many different things, right? If you're on your cycle, if your hormones are out of whack, if, your digestion is bad, sometimes those things can drive our perception to just be very skewed. So I think if you can remind yourself that body image and the way you view yourself it has less to do with how you actually look, and a lot more to do with just how you're perceiving yourself on that given day in the given moment. Because honestly, think about it. I know this happens to me all the time, where I'll have a day where I wake up and I feel amazing, I feel confident, I love the way I look, and literally the next day I could feel the complete opposite. And realistically, in 24 hours, what really changed, right? It's the perception. So I think that's key, and that's something I tell my clients all the time. So just remember, bad body image days have far less to do with your body and actually a lot more to do with just your perception. So the next phrase I really like to share with my clients, and again, another one that I'll be fully transparent, I remind myself of too, is your feelings are not facts. And this is not me saying screw your feelings, they don't matter. Yes, feel your feelings, feel the feels, whatever you gotta do. But remind yourself, your feelings do not equate to facts. And I think this is a really important thing to remind yourself of, especially post-show. You're gonna have days where, as silly as it sounds, let's say you're 3 pounds up from stage weight, and you're oh, I feel so bloated, I feel so gross, or I feel so fluffy, or whatever. no, you're not actually fluffy. You're 3 pounds up from stage weight, but you may feel that way, which I validate, right? I validate our feelings, but realize that your feelings in a given moment do not automatically equate to facts. So that's something I always like to remind my clients of. And I think, something else in the sport of bodybuilding, I would arguably say body image is generally its worst, and it's generally the hardest variable to manage post-show. And I think, giving yourself a little bit of grace with that too, though, and reminding yourself that post-show, your hormones are going to be a little out of whack to some degree, right? I always kind of like to explain, like, the first month post-show is very similar to if you are like in the thick of your cycle as a female. Think about when you're in the thick of your cycle, how sometimes your emotions are all over the place. You can't think rationally or logically. That's kind of how your headspace is the first month post-show. So that's why, and I could, go on a whole tangent about this, but that's why I think it's so helpful to have, your ground with your coach post-show and kind of use them as your objective viewpoint, because you're not going to be able to think rationally or even view yourself rationally. So realize that is a thing. Give yourself a little bit of grace. Take what you see and honestly what you think with a grain of salt, like the first month post-show, just as you give your body some time to get those hormones back to a normal spot. Okay, so now let's talk about theoretically, if you are post-show and, let's say you are a couple weeks post-show and you're really struggling with kind of seeing your body gain a little bit of weight and body fat, I think you have to be real for a second. You have to remind yourself of a couple things. You have to remind yourself that this is the sport of bodybuilding. And I know we hear this all the time, but truthfully, break apart that word, bodybuilding. I'm sorry, but if you are somebody who is always perpetually dieting and you're always just striving to be the leanest version of yourself, like, I'm sorry, but you're not a bodybuilder. You're not, right? So if you really want to live up to the title of a bodybuilder, you have to realize you should, and you're going to have to, if you want to be a good athlete, spend more time out of a dieting phase as opposed to a prep, right? And yeah, that's going to probably mean that you're not shredded to the bone all the time. But that doesn't mean you have to completely lose all leanness in an off season. And like, that's a whole other topic of how much weight should you gain, etc. But realize this is the sport of bodybuilding and it does demand growth and building your body, right? So, and I think you also, something else that I've always reminded myself of post-show is, the leanest body is not always going to be the body that performs the best, especially in the gym, right? I can probably speak for all of us here in saying that when you are close to show day and you are super, super shredded and lean, you usually do not feel your best in the gym. I know sometimes I feel kind of like fragile in the gym, almost like afraid to throw around heavy weight because I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna break. Not really, but our leanest body composition is never gonna be the body composition we perform best at, right? Heck, I like to kind of put it into perception, and one of my clients actually mentioned this when we were talking about it, but think of like Olympic athletes, right? There's a reason that the Olympic athletes, whether it's, track, gymnastics, whatever it may be, they're not stage lean, right? There's a reason for that, right? That is not a body composition that generally yields the best performance. So just remind yourself of that. Those are two things I think that are good reminders. Okay, so now I want to propose 2 little tips for some things that I think are very helpful. If you are having a bad body image day, you wake up, let's say you're just not feeling it, not having a great day in terms of how you're viewing yourself. So 2 things that I think can be really helpful are, if it does happen to be a check-in day, take your pictures for your coach before you weigh in. Because a lot of times the way we perceive our progress pictures, it's very much so driven by that scale number, right? So if you wake up and you weigh in and the scale says something you really like, you're gonna look at your pictures and probably perceive them in a very positive light. Whereas if you wake up and the weight is not what you want to see, you're going to take your pictures and probably pick apart those pictures, right? So take your pictures before you take your weight. Or if it's not a check-in day, look at yourself before you weigh in. Don't weigh in and then look at yourself, right? So kind of reverse that order. The second thing is, if you're having a bad body image day, this may sound cliche, but put yourself together. Put yourself together, girl. Or if you're a guy, you can put yourself together. Dress in a cute outfit, maybe put some makeup on, do your hair. I think that actually really helps. I know that when I'm having a bad body image day, if I just stay in my scrubby outfit all day and I don't do anything with my hair, I don't put on makeup, it makes me feel even worse. So if you're having a bad body image day, one of the best things you can do, put yourself together. Even if you don't have anywhere to go, put on a cute outfit, put yourself together, and it will generally make you feel a lot better. I want to wrap up this topic by reminding you guys of a few things. And I think the first thing is remind yourself that, you know, you are, as a competitor, when you gain body fat post-show, right? Like, you are going from being at a crazy shredded leanness that is not sustainable to pretty much just going back to being like, you know, normal level of leanness. So sometimes I think we lose perception that, like, even in our off seasons, especially if you're staying very disciplined, very regimented, you are most people's goals, right? I know that sometimes we get so much in our head of like, oh, I'm not, you know, I don't like to see that I have like fat here compared to when I, you know, when I was stage lean, but realize that you are still goals to most people, right? And another thing, like, I can confidently say this, being a competitor who has competed many times now, you will eventually look back on pictures and be like, what the hell was I thinking, right? I cannot tell you. So I have a set of progress pictures, and I remember when I sent them in to my coach Paul for check-ins, it was very close post-show, and I remember I was feeling super bloated and I just hated my pictures, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm really bloated today. And he was like, it's okay, I can't even tell. And I look back at those same pictures now and I am like, girlfriend, what were you even like? What did you see? So my point is, you will look back at pictures several months in the future and be like, whoa, I looked so good. Why did I not see that in the moment? So that is always something that I remind myself of when I'm having bad body image days. It may seem like it's the end of the world in the moment, but believe me, flash forward a couple months in the future, you're gonna look back at those pictures with more of a clearer lens or viewpoint, and you're gonna be like, what was I thinking? All right, and that is going to wrap up this topic though today. I wanted to make this video kind of short, sweet, and hopefully this can be a video that you guys refer back to, you know, with whatever phase you're in. If you're a competitor watching this video, hopefully you can kind of keep it nearby when you're having your bad body image days, or if you're a coach watching this video, maybe it can be helpful to share some of these things with your clients. But these are just all things that have personally helped me as an athlete, and also a lot of things that I preach to my clients that have helped them a lot as well. Because I mean, half the battle with the sport of bodybuilding is the mental side of things, right? Physically, yes, it can be hard, but I would personally say it's mentally, it's even harder than it is physically, especially post-show when it comes to body image. So I hope that this video was helpful. If you are watching and you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. Comment below if you made it to the very end. Comment below and let me know. Say something. I'm trying to think what I could have you say. Just comment below and tell me what you like to do when you're having a bad body image day that kind of helps you. I'd love to hear what some of you guys do. As always, in the description box below, you can find my discount codes, links, and also the application for my one-on-one coaching, as I am taking on clients. So if you are interested, you can inquire below. But I hope that wherever you guys are at in this world, I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope this video was enlightening and helpful to some capacity. And if you guys like the format of these like little short kind of sit down videos over micro topics, please let me know and I will keep them coming. All right, so have a great day, guys, and thank you for watching.